Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Fiber Broadband Association's Fiber for Breakfast. We're now in our 9th episode of 2026. The gold sponsor for Fiber Breakfast is Condex. Congress is in session this week, and yesterday the Senate Commerce Committee held a hearing titled Less Hype, More Help, AI that Improves Safety, Productivity, and Care. It was convened by U.S. Senator Ted Budd from North Carolina. He's chairman of the Subcommittee on Science, Manufacturing, and Competitiveness. And the hearing explored how AI technology, as transformative as the internet, is improving Americans' quality of life, creating jobs, driving economic growth, with witnesses sharing real-world success stories in safety, productivity, and healthcare. In the House, the Farm Bill is currently being marked up in the House Agricultural Committee, with leadership aiming for a floor vote before the Easter recess. We appreciate the current draft language funds and codifies the USDA's Reconnect program, but the Fiber Broadband Association is encouraging bipartisan Reconnect America Act included in this legislation that establishes 100 by 100 megabit symmetric service versus the draft language of 50 meg by 24. I don't know where that came from, but it's crazy. So we want to make sure that rural America receives the connectivity they deserve. And at NTIA, we're now at 52 out of the 56 speed final proposals have been approved. So we're getting there and making the significant progress in moving the program forward. Following approvals from NIST, 23 states have countersigned their NTIA agreements and officially begun contracting process with subgrantees. So this is moving very quickly. NTIA is expected to release its BEAD non-deployment notice for the remaining $21 billion on March 11th. So forthcoming guidance should clarify the allowable uses for non-deployment funds and provide directions on how the state AI laws may impact eligibility for accessing those funds. And last week on Five for Breakfast, our guest was our good buddy Ernesto Falcon from the California PUC, who discussed broadband competitiveness and pricing strategies in California urban markets. The PUC's latest study found that if each of the major cities in California had multi-gigabit broadband providers, it would save Californians over $1 billion a year in their broadband service. So if you missed that, you can go back into our website and watch the replay. Today on Five for Breakfast, our guest is the Fiber Broadband Association's former chairman and current treasurer, Jimmy Todd. The CEO of Nex-Tech is going to discuss getting a front row seat to the telecom evolution 75 years in the making. Jimmy is General Manager and CEO of Nex-Tech and brings 40 years of experience in technology and communications. And under Jimmy's leadership, Nex-Tech has evolved from a rural cooperative telephone company into a leading communications and technology provider, pioneering fiber to the home in rural America, now delivering broadband across 11,000 square miles in Kansas. He oversees strategic growth, innovation, and diversification, including advanced data center services and nationwide technical support. A recognized advocate for telecommunications fiber broadband, Jimmy served on numerous boards and committees, including the Kansas Fiber Network, Nex-Tech Wireless, W2TA, NTCA, NRTC, NCSC, a lot of N acronyms, U.S. Telecom, and the Fiber Broadband Association. He was appointed to the FCC's Precision Ag Task Force, and beyond leadership, industry leadership, Jimmy actively contributes to local and state initiatives to various boards. Jimmy's undergraduate education was at Oxford College of Emory University and Chapman University. He earned his MBA through the University of Portland. And Jimmy's also a veteran, serving 10 years in the U.S. Navy and 11 years in the U.S. Army and Army National Guard. So thank you, Jimmy, for your service, not only for our nation and our military, but also for the Fiber Broadband Association. You've been just a tremendous force in kind of driving our industry. So thank you for that. So
Thanks,
for audience, please type in your questions. And we'll work those into discussion. So Jimmy is like one of my favorite people, so I've definitely been looking forward to this discussion. Not that we don't talk every day, but so welcome, Jimmy.
Thanks, Gary.
We were just talking about, when you were chairman, the chairman's keynote has kind of become a competition, and with JJ kind of setting the bar, and then you wrote in the big dog. So tell us a little bit about You were just telling me, what did you do, 7,500 miles in August last year on your motorcycles?
Yes, sir. Got the opportunity. Well, of course, I rode the chopper up to the Sturgis Rally, but after that, I had a little cross country venture that took me from Kansas to West Virginia, all the way down to South Carolina, up to Maryland, over to New Jersey, up to Toronto, over to Portsmouth, New Hampshire, and then Colorado Springs before coming home. So it was a good ride.
Well, more power to you. I don't know that I can handle a motorcycle ride all those miles. So how's Miss Shirley doing?
Doing well. It's that time of year where the sniffles and stuff happen. She's been doing some subbing at the local junior high and grade schools, and so of course she's got to have the opportunity to work through that. But she's doing great. Thanks for asking.
Well, Nex-Tech, just amazing company, 75 years. That's really impressive to any business that can survive and evolve and be able to thrive in 75 years. So when you look back, what would be the most defining moment or decision that really set the trajectory for the company's growth and staying power?
There's a couple of points, Gary. I say at the very beginning, it was a commitment to serve in an area that others wouldn't serve. And through that's how Rural Telephone, the parent of Nex-Tech, got started, bringing telephone communications to very rural areas. But then you look forward, and our engagement into fiber is probably the thing that really changed the game for us. About the same time that we were bringing we were the first to bring fiber to a rural community as a means to provide connectivity for telecom and other services. We were also the first in the country to competitively serve in another market. And so, we have a history of kind of being out there on the edge. But I do believe when you kind of look at our evolution since the 90s, it has been, a fiber-based network that has put us in a position to continue to evolve with the technology that has changed quite dramatically in the past 30 years.
So when you look at, for some of the folks that don't know Nex-Tech's story, can you kind of just provide a rough timeline of, going from the small telephone cooperative into kind of where you are today?
Sure. We got started in 51, and through acquiring exchanges, rural exchanges, and buying some of those from some of the larger providers who were not investing, we built the cooperative footprint, which extends across the northwest and north central part of the state. And as we continued to build out those communities and provide the connectivity across those communities, that's when we started transitioning into the fiber. So through the 70s, we were still acquiring exchanges from like Southwestern Bell and Sprint United. And then, in the 80s, we started that transition into fiber and moving our step switches to electronic switches, which eventually became IP-based switches. All of that technology, really started advancing significantly in the 80s and through the 90s. And of course, the 90s is when we brought fiber to the home in a rural community. And so when you kind of look at that was kind of an evolution into the original building through grants at the federal and state level. We were able to expand providing services beyond the cooperative footprint into the rural areas surrounding the cooperative. And with that, the area that we began to serve grew significantly. And so we continued to find opportunities to leverage grants and build into areas as an edge out so that we could provide state-of-the-art services to our neighbors that, quite honestly, were in great need of it. So that has kind of been our focus when it comes to, traditional telecom services, that commitment to serve. But, beyond that, we also had a commitment to serve other needs. We were early in taking a look at how does IT affect our business and the community, the businesses in the communities we serve. So we started building our IT MSP service, which now we're the biggest IT MSP between Kansas City and Denver. And we provide those services across the state as well as into the neighboring states. Telephone companies got into broadband. Telephone companies got into television, just like cable companies got into broadband. And so with that evolution, we had local content, media that we did. And from that, we transitioned our media marketing team basically into an ad agency because our local communities needed that. And we found a niche by helping other broadband providers because we're a broadband provider. We kind of understand, what they need to do to be successful. So we've had a really good opportunity to grow in that aspect. Carrier services, we created a network monitoring system, our NOC. And through that, there were others who needed network monitoring. So we continue to expand that. So we have NOC customers and CALIA customers from, across the entire U.S. And so we just had a commitment to take things that were important to how we operated and things that were needed in our communities and just kind of grow that and expand that. But it's all because of having a dedicated team of truly amazing professionals that care about our customers and our communities. Because I don't care who you are, without a great team, you don't have a great company. And I get to brag on my Nex-Tech team as often as I can, because without their abilities, without their care, Nex-Tech would be average, and we are not average. And so, we continue to try and invest in our team through training, through leadership development. We've had the pleasure of having families that grew up with Nex-Tech, and we've got multi-generational examples of where parents worked at Nex-Tech and their adult kids are now part of the team. I think of like the Ellises, the Bascals, the Normandins, the Walters, even recently the Dempseys and the Schneiders, and there are others that have been part of the Nex-Tech family, and now the next generation is part of the Nex-Tech family, and that's exciting and unique because in our rural areas, we want our young people to stay local and we want them to have great jobs. And the fact that they saw positive in where their parents worked or their grandparents worked in some cases is a huge positive telling sign that I think that, we have set a good example for the young people to say, hey, there is great opportunity here, and this company can give you that opportunity. So, my hat's off to my team because they're just fantastic.
Well, yes. I mean, when you think about, quality organization, you think about retention. And so when you have people that have not just been there for their entire careers, but their family members, their kids and the next generations join, that's quite a testament to not only your leadership, but it looks like, from what you've told me, you've been standing on the shoulders of some giants over the past. So it just has a great track record of strong leadership for the last 75 years.
Yes, sir.
So that's not easy to do, is to come in and fill big. I mean, you've been there quite a while and you've really taken things to the next level. So one of the things that one of the questions came in from our good buddy Steve is if you could look past over the last 10 years, whether it's policy or technology or response to customer demand, is there anything that you would have done differently?
I would probably have built fiber faster even. We were able to finish building out our cooperative, our very last customer in our cooperative a couple of years ago. And we had acquired a small telecom company in central Kansas. And in a couple of years, we brought them all the way fiber to the home. I would say probably building fiber a little bit faster and then finding even more opportunities to expand that connectivity outside of our current service footprint.
So can you talk a little bit about, you're in rural Kansas, right? It seems to me like when you go to the airport, you drive 5 hours to Denver. So there's a lot of windshield time between you and Denver. What has fiber done for the businesses and the communities across, the areas, 11,000 square miles that you serve?
One of the things that I think it makes a huge difference is you see a lot of communities that are in rural areas that have gone away. And I think that our bringing fiber connectivity to the communities that we serve helped them stay viable. When you look at what happened during COVID, and connectivity was more important than it had ever been, I look at how that affected our communities and the fact that we did have good broadband service. And, there are areas that we have reached out with fixed wireless. It's not our preference, but to get people connected, we have done that. In the big scheme of things, whenever we can afford, we can put a project together to get them transitioned to fiber. That's always our preference. And that's what we always work towards. Because at the end of the day, we have seen people move to our rural community for remote jobs that because of the connectivity that we have, they can work anywhere in the world. We have seen education enhanced. We have seen the ability for folks to use technology in their businesses, whether it be small town businesses or whether it be rural agricultural type businesses. And so having that state-of-the-art connectivity truly facilitates those communities and those businesses and those homes to be connected to what is quite honestly the most important connectivity medium, which is the broadband network, the internet.
The fact that I've had the opportunity to work with you for the last several years, the one thing that's clear is you're always looking forward on what's the latest technology. Hence, you created our precision agriculture working group. You led our AI and emerging tech. You've been, on the FCC, precision ag committee. When you think about Kansas, you think about precision ag, you think about AI. Kind of what are you seeing as the future of, how we're going to evolve with this technology, and why is it important to get fiber to all these places?
Well, when you think about AI and you think of data centers and you think of the amount of data that is going to continue to exponentially grow that goes across our networks, you have to have a fiber infrastructure to facilitate that. We have seen data centers going in all over the metro areas. We have heard more and more discussions about looking to rural communities for data center locations. Now, there's different types of data centers. You've got the hyperscaler data centers, you got the large government, the large enterprise, but you also have more edge type data centers. So, it will depend on who is wanting to plant that data center as to what type of fiber connectivity is needed. When you're looking at hyperscalers, the fat count fiber is absolutely critical. And yet, we have used a data center for our own IT MSP customers and our own operations for many years, and it's not quite as dense. So you're going to have different flavors of data centers. I think you're going to see more fat count fiber needed in the future, which is different than how we, engineered things in the past, right? So those are things that I see will be changing. AI is going to enhance capabilities for workforce. We have embraced AI and are using it in multiple different ways in our organization. And there's excitement and there's fear with that, right? For some people, there's a fear. Okay, is this going to take my job? And others are like, what, is this going to turn into Skynet and the Terminator? So really, it's our job to help them understand this is to enhance what we're able to do as a team, as an organization. If we're able to leverage AI and be able to adapt and evolve how we do things, processes, procedures, then it allows us to grow and scale and serve more customers and do it at the same level of quality that we've always expected from ourselves.
Yeah, I would think, as we move forward, the work that you're doing, and especially when you think about AI, digital twins, and precision ag, this is exactly what will save family farms, being able to maximize productivity and efficiency to allow these farms to continue to grow. It's pretty hard to go and take family businesses and convince people to embrace technology. Is that what you're seeing, or do you think the farms in your area are quick to embrace?
I would not say quick to embrace by any means. I would say yes. It is going to be kind of one of those generational shifts, I do believe, because the young folks that have been going to the ag schools are learning about ag tech, and yet it's going to depend on when they're the ones getting to make the decisions back home at the family farm, right? But I know some who haven't employed ag technology, and I've got a friend who actually runs a farming business for seed for thousands of acres, one-man operation, right? Because he uses technology. Now he has custom cutters come in during harvest time, but when you look at the rest of the year running the business, he's using technology to be able to do that. And it's quite amazing to see how that is a full force multiplier when it comes to running a farm these days.
One of the questions came from the audience. Are you seeing much NeoCloud activity in your service area? And what about AI factories? And how are they differing from large scale hyperscalers and the way fiber, is deployed?
Really, in our footprint, I haven't seen a lot of that. We're keeping an eye on it to see how that develops. With the fact that we go from the west side to the central part of the state, we feel that we're positioned that if those continue to advance, into central Kansas or western Kansas, we'll be ready to help facilitate it. But at this time, that's still more in the conceptual phase as opposed to the actual happening in our footprint.
And another question that came in for the audience is, I don't know if since you serve Kansas, they're asking about City of Lawrence. Is that something that you guys would be able to provide fiber? They have quite a bit of need for that.
We are not serving in Lawrence. We are as far east as we go is Salina. So that's the central part of the state. But I do know that there are others that have been serving Lawrence. I don't know that it's been fully built out, but when we are building in a community, our goal is to build out the entire community and serve that entire community, and that's what we're progressing on right now in Salina.
All right, so 75 years, the big anniversary is coming up. So do you have something big planned for your team?
Well, it's going to be a year-long celebration. We like to celebrate things, and you know, in the past we've done things in the summer pool parties in the communities that we serve. We've created a history wall in some of our locations to kind of show folks how we've grown the organization and evolved. Got our employee meeting tomorrow, and so we're going to be excited to kind of reminisce and then look forward. We've got a new location that's we're going to have a ribbon cutting in June for our sunflower building in Salina, and so that's going to be a new tech location in the central part of the state. So we're excited about that, and really it's just celebrating with the communities that we've been a part of for that 75 years. And we keep growing that list of communities. So that's been exciting.
So Jimmy, I lean on you every day. You're just your leadership, and I know how much time you put into the Fiber Broadband Association. Yet you're on all these boards, and I know that you are not someone who just is passive on a board. You're very highly active. So you're in a lot of working groups, you're in a lot of boards, you're traveling all over the country, and you're running a highly successful business. So how are you able to do all this stuff?
Remember, I was talking about that great team. Without that great team and without the support of a board that feels that it's important for us to help influence industry, it wouldn't be possible. I am blessed to have an amazing team of senior leaders at our company, and quite honestly, they make sure that everything is working well. And I feel like I'm just fortunate to have that position and that opportunity, and it allows me to take our perspective and share it with others.
Well, I not only do you have kind of the top level leadership advice and qualities, I really appreciate your attention to detail as we are doing investment strategies and all the other things. So, it just seems like you're all these areas and boards and things that you're participating in that really provides a lot of great expertise, as well as, I don't know anybody that's served in both the Navy and Army and National Guard. So you certainly.
Maybe I'm confused. I don't know.
Well, Miss Shirley keeps you in line. I
Yes.
know that for sure. All right. So 75 years, been amazing.
Yes, sir.
What's going to happen? What is kind of your vision for the next 10 years, I'll call it, or 5, whatever horizon you want to talk about for Nex-Tech and rural America?
Well, we're going to create more transport routes to reach further than where we currently reach, creating new opportunities in larger metro areas. We are going to continue to expand our IT MSP services because, as you are fully aware of, cybersecurity and data protection, network security, that is huge. We've seen a lot of growth in our security, surveillance, and access control business, so we're expanding that beyond the Kansas footprint. Our NOC services continue to be something that ISPs needs help with, and we're able to provide that help, and expanding how we help with our creative team when it comes to online presence and marketing their businesses, and again, just finding ways to continue to grow what we're already doing. But I got one other new line of business that's premature to share right now because we're still vetting all the details out. But we'll be making an announcement on that fairly soon.
Well, Jimmy, I love everything you do, and I appreciate everything you do for me and the Fiber Broadband Association and the industry. And I love meeting your teammates at Nex-Tech. They're amazing, and appreciate everything you guys are doing for rural Kansas. Also, all our audience seem to keep sending messages and go Dogs. So,
yes, sir. I'm still a big Georgia Bulldog fan.
Yeah, so everybody knows you pretty well. Well, thank you very much, Jimmy. And again, thanks our audience for joining us. And next
Thanks,
week,
Gary.
I'm excited. One of my favorite guests, Carol Maddie Consulting, former FCC, is going to be here to discuss mission accomplished or mission abandoned, life after BEAD. Carol has incredible insights from all her years in working in the Hill, or not in the Hill, but into FCC and other things. And so you guys are not going to want to miss that. So we'll see you guys next Wednesday. And Jimmy, I will see you long before then. So